so you can you can do a
absolutely.
mix or you can do whatever you want. There's no rules.
Yeah, get it on the internet for people to not pay you for. That's what
Yeah.
that's what the real end game is.
Hey, Devon, how's it going?
Hello, how are you?
I'm well. Thanks for coming to the Question the Answers podcast.
Thanks for having
Devon
me.
Kay is my guest today. And yeah, we're here to talk about Devon Kay and the Solutions, which is his band that he's been doing now for several years with a new album called Limited Joy, which is out
Yes,
on AF Records.
it is.
And yeah, man, I'm super stoked to have you on here. I managed to catch part of your set at Fest
Oh no
over at
shit, awesome.
the Paper and Plastic stage the other
Oh
year, and
yes, that
yeah,
that label.
yeah, it was super fun, man. You guys were great.
Thanks.
Yeah, and I remember a few of the folks from Tsunami Bomb definitely watched the entire set. I had to leave, but
Oh yeah,
they were
that's
really
the
impressed.
nature of the fest. You don't watch any full. You're missing out if you watch a full set at fest. There's too much to see.
No, it's true. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a million shows happening at the same time. So, but I was super stoked. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. That was a great show. That I miss. I would love to do half of that show right now. I would do that to nobody right now. I'm so in need of shows. But yeah, thank you. Is what I should be saying is thanks for enjoying it.
Yeah, no, of course. It was a great time. And yeah, man, I totally feel what you mean. I mean, I'm definitely missing shows. I go to a ton of shows every year.
Oh
And
yeah. It's just like a
it's
social thing. It's just like where you go. Where do you go when that isn't there anymore? I mean, it's like you work in it and you hang out in it and you live in it, and that's like an entire subset of your society of your life. And then it goes away and it's like, holy shit, it can actually go away.
yeah, I mean, I know that there's a lot of people now who are very concerned about the state of shows going forward, like once things get quote unquote back to normal.
Yeah.
I mean, we're losing venues left and right, unfortunately. I hope that there may be doors that open for people to kind of take over those spaces. I mean, tell me about like what's been going on. I mean, just really briefly before we like talk about things with like the band, have there been a lot of venues in the Chicago area that have unfortunately closed? I mean,
Uh,
I'm not as tapped into
oh
that.
no, no, that's fine. Yeah, I think we lost Crown Liquors, which was a cool one. I know that there's been a couple of others that are going, and I don't know where the other ones sit. There's like it's all like weird situations with ownership, and if you own the building, you probably have a better shot at sticking around unless you were renting or leasing it. It's more like those places will stick around, but like when you come back, what do? You sell it at 25 capacity? Do ticket prices go to $30 with 25 people in a 100 cap room? Like the math doesn't add up for that supposed new normal future in my head, and that's why I'm just like I'm just like someone who really likes to have even if the answer's bad, I like to have some sort of answer to just deal with it. And now it's like I can't fathom one right now aside from it doesn't happen anymore, and that's what's like making me like scratch my did we do everything wrong, like I focused a lot on the live music aspect in my life, and now it's just like again, whoa, I guess that can go away. That's something that just yeah, you were always sitting in a bar that had nobody in it. I'm like, this place will never close, glug glug glug, and then
Right.
it closes, and then it's like, holy shit. That's so very real.
Yeah. I mean, it's, I started going to shows back in like the mid 90s, and the first venues that I remember going to were these very DIY, mom and pops run
Oh
clubs.
yeah.
And it wasn't until years later that I actually ended up going to like a proper club in the city. Cause I grew up in like a very small town area in Northern California where we didn't have access to like proper clubs like
Yeah.
Slim's or Bottom of the Hill or something like that. And, until years later, when I went to like a proper venue and saw like a bigger band, I was just going to like these DIY shows. And, you know, I'm hopeful that there may be more of those that pop up, which, I mean, I don't know. They come with their own set of problems, but they also come with their own set of like awesomeness. And
but yeah, it's a place to play.
exactly. And I think for a long time, like maybe we were spoiled, and in that like there was this kind of like, large glut of clubs, kind of popping up, but it also had its own issues where they were only taking like the bigger, bills, and you were having to have like these crazy stacked bills in order to get a show, and smaller bands didn't have anywhere to play and like all that stuff. So
that all comes with its own ebb and flow anyway. You have like so many venues, and then you realize that there's an amazing venue and no shows ever happen there because they don't score any of the good things, and then it goes away, and it's like, well, I guess we didn't really need all that many. It's like, venues are very strange. I've never gotten into that business of owning or running one, but it seems like a very hard thing to do. It seems very challenging to make money off of something that perpetually seems to get harder to make money off of as time goes on.
Absolutely.
Music. Yeah.
But anyway, here, let's get back to
hey, did I bring it down enough yet? Jesus.
I know, right? Yeah. But to bring it up a notch, like here, let's talk a little bit about like your new album. So you have this new album called Limited Joy, which was released when specifically? It was like a month ago?
Yeah, I think when I was still measuring time, it was like in August or something.
Right.
No. Uh-oh. I'll be back. This is always happening.
That's fine. Yeah.
We're back.
There we go.
Yes, here it is. Limited Joy. It came out sometime August. No, it's like 2 months. What month is it now? November? 2 months back from this one. That's nice. It came. Yeah. It's really cool. I'm really proud of it. It's the first time that I've gotten my band's record out on a label from start to finish.
Oh, okay.
The record before this one, whole story with Paper and Plastic there, it didn't happen, which I guess isn't a surprise. I'm not going to do that, but I can. But also, AF delivered the whole product, and there we are, and it's been fantastic. So I'm very proud. It's a very weird record. We made it for very little money, and I'm very proud of that too. So
that's great. Did you guys make the record kind of during this whole shelter in place, or was it prior to that?
It was prior. So it happened like immediately after we did the last one, Yes I Can't. We actually took a song off of that record and redid it and put it on Limited Joy because we were like, this could be better. But we did that one, Yes I Can't. We like learned how to record remote with like consumer grade stuff, not like studio flashy kind of like a lot of you can definitely hear it more on Yes I Can't, where it's like we couldn't get into a room to record drums, so we triggered drums. Like you just kind of do what you have to do, and so you kind of, I mean, obviously our drummer is fantastic and writes all these fancy parts and can play them live. It's just I can't afford to get you into a live room, so let's find out what we do next. And then after Yes I Can't, we learned all that stuff and then learned how to do it better through Limited Joy by adding all the new members, and they all had different ways to record. It kind of became this weird, no money was spent tracking. So it's like you definitely have a better creative experience to not sit around and worry about, you buy the thing once and it benefits you for I do music all the time. It's nice to have a little laptop shitty mixer that's quality enough, but not over like a couple $100. I don't like spending money. It's like a big problem of mine. So, that's my favorite part. I don't even remember the source question. I've had so much coffee, but yes.
No, the main question was just when did it get made, and like you're talking about like the process of doing it more like yourself. Which I mean, dude, that's a hard thing to do because everyone wants the product to be very good sounding and like sonically pleasing, and like when you take it to like somebody to mix it and to master it, they're gonna want to have as good of a garbage in, garbage out scenarios. They can
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mean to use the term negatively, but
I don't take it.
because I actually no, I listened to the record. It's very good. I really enjoy it. But um, yeah, because I mean, somebody who's mixing it or mastering it can only do so much with what you give them. So, like Tsunami Bomb actually just did a song that's going to be coming out on a compilation, and we went through that same process where we had to basically track most of it ourselves. We did manage to get a live drum take at a studio. We did it very cautiously, actually, because of obviously
all of this.
Exactly. So
yeah.
So but we felt confident that we could do it in a safe way, and it worked. It was fine. But we knew that the drums were like really important to get live if you can. And we were able to, but the rest of the pieces we had to do on our own using like laptops. And it was certainly a lot different, in that we couldn't get like those real tones, or we couldn't get like the vocal track with like a really, really good microphone or something. So there's limitations, but hey man, I mean, I think it sounded really great. So kudos.
That is not any of our, well, I mean, it's kind of our doing, but not really. That's all Mike Kennedy, who, if there was any money spent, it went to Mike's giving us a discount on mixing. Mike Kennedy, he's a guitar player, the All-American Rejects. He's engineered and produced every direct hit record since Brainless God. So I've known him for years, and he's always helped with our sound. He mixed this, and basically I told him the plan, and he was like, cool, just send me send me a reference, and then send me everything without a single tone on it. And I'm gonna build your sound a little bit. And he did. There is like live stuff that we did at our bassist's house, who has like a home studio. But it just felt, when Mike could tweak stuff to make it sonically more pleasing, that it was that was our doing. That's where all the beef comes from on this record, is from Mike Kennedy's brain of taking a digital file and making it sound real. I mean, it's real. I'm playing it, but it's just I couldn't get in a room with an amplifier kind of a thing. It's it was a really interesting process. It felt very backwards. It felt like when you go into a studio, you sit there and you laboriously slave over the tone. You're turning knobs, you're taping shit, you're taking pictures with your phone, you're standing in front of it, you're going to the back of the room like a maniac trying to get the right distortion or whatever. And then this time it was like, get into the computer, and then Michael do all that shit, but also on a computer. So it was like backwards. It was like the second part came first on this one, and then back. Yeah, that's what backwards means. So
yeah, I mean, it feels like going forward that is going to become part of the norm. In which people record and produce their own music. And I mean, personally, I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. Some people may take offense to it and say like, oh, well, it's not as authentic, or, you're not able to capture it. If you're not able to do it live, like, why would you do it recording? I personally don't think that holds a lot of weight, because your vision is really all that matters, specifically when you're actually trying to produce a record, doing it live can and should be separate in a lot of ways, because
I agree.
like what was it? Rage Against the Machine is like that prime example where, they made a point on their records to say like, we did everything, with real instruments, basically as few takes as possible, like all in the same room, and we didn't use like a single synthesizer or like overdub or like any of that stuff. And it's like, yeah, that's awesome. And it totally works for them,
Oh yeah.
Like
they also did it on a real budget.
Well, like, not only that, but
what an asinine thing to say. Like, we only did it this way. Well, you also had like a $10,000 amp and like probably every great mic for all your sloppy take. You know what I mean? It's just that old mentality like drives me insane. Like, who says it has to be that way? Who the fuck still wants to sound like Pink Floyd and shit? Who gives a crap? Like, like it's over. Move on. We got computers now. It's fine.
Yeah.
All your favorite pop songs have, most of your favorite songs have so much touching up because you can. More people are going to hear your recording, especially nowadays, than will ever see you live. Might as well make it an experience. It's like you read a book and it's written out and it's a certain way, or you can tell a story vocally. They're going to be slightly different, and you know, they're just going to be different, kind of a thing. It's very weird to me, the hold people who are like, it's got to be a studio, even though this is becoming incredibly non-sustainable. You know what I mean? Like it's a bonkers mentality to me. You should keep flying, kind of a thing, you know, opposed to holding on to every dumb old ideal of how to make a song.
Yeah, I think that's totally true. I think that there's still merit to going into the studio. I mean, like you can capture sounds a certain way, and like if you can get like tones that maybe you can't get via a plugin, but it's getting to the point now. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm not against studios by any means. I just think more the people who fight for it vehemently is just kind of like, sorry, you continue. We're doing that Zoom thing where we have to wait and then, No.
I think the point's been made though. You know, I agree with you that we shouldn't necessarily hold on to these weird, you know, tropes of like, oh, we have to do it in the studio, and it also doesn't necessarily mean that we have to do it via a machine either, you know, so you can you can do a mix, or you can do whatever you want. You know, there's no rules.
Yeah. Get it on the internet for people to not pay you for, you know, that's what, that's what the real end game is.
Totally. How much can we not make on this record?
Yeah. How little can I put in for how little I'm going to get back, you know?
Yeah. But I mean, so far, you know, the album's been out for a few months, and you know, I mean, I unfortunately didn't get a little chance to like dig into like the coverage or the reception, but I mean, has it been getting like good reviews? I mean,
yeah, for the people that have paid it, it's kind of like all the Solution stuff. For the people that pay attention to it, they enjoy it. They seem to really like it. I don't think I've ever, this does not meant to sound this way. I don't think just anyone, I have never gotten a bad review, and I'm fine with that at this point. No one has ever torn me down, but also very few people want to talk about me. So again, we have a very loyal, I'm very thankful. I love the people that like our music. I just, I've said it in a bunch of interviews following Limited Joy, is that like, we've tried to kind of be like, hello to like music scenes, be like, hi there, like we share some stuff, you guys want to hang out? And they're just like, no, get out of here, like you're not quite enough of this set genre. And then I'm just like, well, that's kind of the problem. And they're like, bye-bye. And then you kind of just go like, well, I guess I don't know. I don't know what I'm allowed to call my band anymore. Like, you know, I've been told that we don't fit into this scene or that scene. So I'm kind of like, rock, but rock is just the boring bedrock example now for anything that has a guitar left in it. So it's like, yeah, I don't know. So all the reviews have been good, but I just want to find a little community, a little home for our weird rock band thing that we do.
Yeah, you know, I think that's like a really important thing to kind of talk about, is that there are a lot of bands that do have a hard time finding that community that really will elevate them, and to really wrap themselves around and say, hey, like this fucking band rules, and we should all be celebrating them, you know? And you get that.
Sorry.
No, please go ahead.
Oh no, I want to let you finish and I'll piggyback off you.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, you see that a lot with like the ska scene, you know, particularly like, I mean, like I've mentioned this several times on the podcast, like Bad Time Records and all of those bands are crushing it. Like they completely elevate each other.
Oh, I know.
You know, and
I want to be part of that world.
No, totally. And like for instance, there's that new band Bad Operation that just
so good
came out, and it's fucking great. Like it's
Brian,
totally.
Yeah,
totally. Yeah, it's one of the guys from Pears, and I fucking love it. And it's totally a ska band, and so it fits in with that ska scene, but they could easily be accepted by like the punks out there. And like,
or even like indie. It fits very well into that, I don't know, into that almost indie rock thing too, which
and ultimately, I mean, and this is just my opinion, it's just good. Like it just sounds good, you know. So
It's
for a
it's a
band
very
like
refreshing sound, that record. It's really good.
I,
It's nice to hear a record sound like that, and that isn't a stupid Tim Timebomb record or some shit, you know?
no, totally. It isn't just like a generic ska punk band, you
Yeah.
know.
Right.
And with Devon Kay, like I get the impression from you guys that you guys kind of, I mean, and please, like, I don't mean to lump you in with like things that you may not agree with, but like I get like a little bit of like that kind of Weezer Rentals kind of vibe, a little bit
Cool.
of like that almost oh gosh, why is his name escaping me? Like Ben Folds kind of meets
Oh, that's cool
like
about me.
like heavy indie rock kind of a vibe, and but it ultimately like comes down to like just good songwriting.
Thank
Like
you.
your songs are good, and they're catchy.
We've gotten
And
the. Oh, sorry.
well, I was just gonna say, like, I think that it could easily be enjoyed by people in the punk community, but it could also be enjoyed by people in like the ska scene and like people in like a little bit more of like that festcore scene. So, and I mean, like you guys have done well at fest, like like
Yeah. Well, I think that's all I know. I mean, like I've been playing in punk and pop punk forever, kind of a thing. So it's like I keep showing it to that world, and it gets like accepted. But also, we do a lot of things that piss off punks, like put auto tune on a song or use a lot of like synthesizers and uh, don't do upstrokes ever. But also like worship ska and punk. It's just kind of like I don't think I do it to piss people off, but I also think I do it because I'm pissed off at all the stuff that you're told that you can't do to be in a genre. It's like we got compared once to They Might Be Giants, and I really appreciated that because that band like is a pop punk band at times, or and it's just like they've always been in their own world of like artsier version of that, but like God, have you ever seen like the bands they're associated with? They're unlistenable. Like they're almost too artsy to be with They Might Be Giants. So it's kind of like, what world is that? And that's where I feel like I've placed us. And we're finishing up another thing. And it's even further now. Like it's almost, the new stuff, we're leaning a lot into that electronic thing just because we're making it all on electronic stuff, so why not explore that? I don't know. I don't like to follow rules. I hate genres. I hate putting things into categories. It bums me out. I feel like people who are just so hardcore into making sure something has a genre, like the kind of people that don't hold house parties because everything has to be in the right place. It's not very fun for me. It's just like, hey, I want to put a little bit of hardcore into this piano rock song for some reason. Why the fuck not? There's only 12 notes. There's only so many tools you're given. Why is just blend them all together? Isn't it the most 2020 shit? Is that now everything exists for you to find out about, so that you should just all cram it together because there's no new genre. May as well just fart them all together at this point. That's where my head is at. I don't want to become an old fogey, I guess is my thing. I don't ever want to be like, the kids are wrong or 100 gex is bad. Like I just, right. I can't be, I want to be excited about new stuff forever and not get into that thing that seems to happen to a lot of people where it's like the music that was made here and now or this and then is the only thing that we can use as a pillar to excellence. And it's just kind of like, I don't know, like it's really creative watching what people make today with the tools that they're given. Sure, they don't all have guitars, they have laptops, but that's an instrument now. Get over it. Like it's very weird. Yeah, sorry. I'm very tangential when I have coffee. So stop me at any time.
I think everything you're saying is really great. And, like, so I run a small record label, and, I've said this a few times, like one of the things that I consider with my label is that I feel that it's an extension of my taste. Right. And so I don't only listen to punk rock, and I only don't listen to, or I don't only just listen to like post punk or post rock.
Yeah.
I listen to all of them, And so I find bands from all of those genres that I think are great. And like I listen to hip hop. I don't necessarily know how to sell hip hop though, So like, it's not that I wouldn't work with hip hop artists. I just don't necessarily know if I know the right avenues to work.
Totally.
With
Yeah. And I get what you mean. Sorry, go on.
But I one of my goals with the label, to the point that I was trying to make, was that I would hope that anyone that is listening to, say, like Unconditional Arms or Decent Criminal or
Love Decent
like
Criminal,
Middle
by the
Aged
way.
Queer. I'm sorry.
Love Decent Criminal, by the way.
Oh
That's
yeah,
one of
no,
my
that out, dude.
favorites.
Bliss is a fantastic fucking album. Those guys are
So
great.
such a great band. Love
Um,
those boys.
but I would hope that anyone who's listening to those bands and thinks that they're good would be at least willing to listen to the other bands on the label in the hopes that they are also quote unquote good, you know,
Yeah.
because of just a matter of taste and like proximity, maybe like a by proxy effect, you know, where it's like, oh, I like them. And even though that other band may not be the genre that I like, it still might be good. And I don't know. I get it. Taste is relative. You know, it's
Yeah.
you know, it's objective. But
good songwriting isn't. And you made a point
right.
about that earlier.
Yeah.
That it's like kind of comes down to the good songwriting, which Decent Criminal does. So if you sign Decent Criminal, then I assume you understand bands of good songwriting. It always comes down. A band can be the best artists in the world, Joe Satriani and the good drummer from Rush who's dead. Like it could be anybody.
Right.
That doesn't mean you can write a fucking tune. Like I know so many amazing musicians who I went in my brief stint in music college who were like the greatest guitar players I'd ever seen, but my God, their songs are dog shit. Like it's just, and that's fine. They went in and played with other people. They didn't write the songs, but I always wanted to write songs. The song is what's important. How you deliver the song, who gives a shit, you know?
Right. I think that that's a good way to kind of summarize it, is that the quality of a song, there is a degree of just stable, you know, quality to a good song, you know?
Yes,
and
absolutely.
How you deliver it, like you said, can be where the variation comes in, you know, but it's still got to meet that criteria to kind of fit in with like a good song, you know?
Yeah.
And there's plenty of representation out there of like what good songs are, you know? Yeah.
Oh yeah. And
you hear them all the
they
time.
all vary the scope sonically. Like a good song could be a person stomping their foot and clapping their hand and singing a melody. And it's just like, well, why is that good? I mean, there's a swath of reasons why it's good, but it comes down to the song itself. The thing that you've made at the end of it is what's good. And that's cool. I don't know. Yeah.
But yeah, so working with AF Records, I mean, how's that been? I mean, so I know very little about that label, except for just like, you know, I know the name, and I know that they're affiliated with the folks in Anti-Flag, correct?
Yes.
And so, you know, I've seen plenty of records that have been put out by them, but I mean, has that been a great experience so far for you? Very positive?
So awesome. Like I said, I had some woes with woes with working with paper and plastic and stuff, some falling out there. So I was pretty discouraged when I was sending out my college application version of "Will you sign my band?" To anybody who would listen or who didn't or would respond or whatever. And I reached out to AF. We've Direct Hits toured with Anti-Flag. I've known Stowe for years. Massey, who works there, Josh Massey, has been a tour manager for Direct Hit. Basically, I was very comfortable with them. They know me. they get my like personality, it seems, and they listened. They agreed, and I texted a million times in my anxiety and was just like, it's got to be real. If it's not real, everyone's going to fucking hate me. And then they were like, we've never not put out a record. Like, don't be scared. And then when they announced the pre-order, I got an angry email from someone saying, your last record didn't come out. And I was just like, I'm so sorry. I hate me too. And so then I had to email them again. And like, yeah, you don't need to tell me. I hate me. And so then it came out, and they were nice, caring, empathetic, the entire time understanding that I'm just a kind of a high anxiety weirdo. They were prompt, they were honest, transparent. I can't sing the praises of AF Records enough. They are a great record label. Genuine good people, level-headed, no bullshit too of being like, hey, you know, we've had some good bands, but it might not be your band, but we'll try. And that's fucking good. In my head, I like that. I think that's a nice mentality to have so that you can remain level-headed. Because as you know, when you put something out, it's, I don't know, your brain, especially the week that it's coming out, like your brain and body go through something that's just like, I like put a divot in my floor, pacing the house, being like, I guess everyone's going to judge me now because I just poured every thought I had into a record about my own mortality. Will anyone care? Oh God, if no one cares, like that's even worse than if it sucks. Like, yeah. So they really managed my anxiety as well as got the product out. So it was pretty excellent, especially in COVID times too. And they've lived up to everything. I love that label. Good. I give it 1 thumbs up and another one, making it 2.
Hey, that's a solid 2 thumbs up.
Yeah,
that's
pretty good.
That's about as many thumbs as you get. So that's, yeah. I mean, do you have a 3rd thumb? No.
No, not that I know.
Yeah, not that I know. No, I mean, that's great. I mean, I've heard of other people saying, you know, similar types of things about AF. So that's great that you echo it. And, you know, I mean, I don't want to dig too much of a hole in this, but just really briefly, if you don't mind, and I mean, we can edit this, I guess, if you need to, but the whole paper and plastic thing. So you're not the first person that's mentioned issues with them.
Oh,
I mean,
no, one of many.
Yeah. So, I mean, forgive me for maybe digging this hole, but what happened? Like,
yeah, no, I don't know. What happened was I was told that something was going to happen, and then money was taken from people who were buying something that had my name on it, like literally in the goddamn title, which just puts a weight on in my, I don't know. I sell things. That's what I do. If you put money to me, then you get something. And this didn't happen. There was a pre-order that never became real. So I got mad and I reached out to some of those artists who never received their stuff and was just milling about my options. And then I sent an email explaining some of my options to whoever, you know, the Vinny who runs it. And I said, I need a receipt of the pre-order, like right now. Why is this thing delayed? You're telling me it's delayed. And they when you catch someone in a lie, what do they do? They either confess or they keep lying. This time I was like, they just didn't lie. They said there was no order. And they said, well, place it tomorrow. I said, absolutely not. I want you to refund everybody. I want my masters back. Just leave me alone. You've wasted nothing but time and money. I've gone on tours for this album where I don't have a record to sell, and I still have no record to show for it, which is like not a boo-hoo, but like kind of you didn't get to close the chapter on something that took a year of my life to make and was like the building blocks for jump-starting my band and rekindling my friendship with my drummer. It was just a very important piece of my existence that was just kind of dangled in front of my face by some fucking guy. And there was a lot of like others. It wasn't just like one thing where I was like, hey, do you have it? And it was like, no, it was months and months of just lying to me. And it's just it's, you know, if you're embarrassed, you're embarrassed. Or if you can't do something, just tell me and I'll move on. It's a business. We're fine. Like, but to lie and waste everybody's time is why I'm so still to this day, like, fuck that. Like, that is so shitty and there's no excuse for it. You're an adult. We're both adults. Like, just tell me. You want to be with your family, be with your family. Don't run a record label, dingus. Like, I don't know what to do other than try not to flame off all the time on it. But it's taking advantage of artists from an artist. Like, how low do you go on that end? Like, how many careers have probably been stunted by good punk bands that could have sold a couple records to recoup their expenses because they didn't come out? And, you know, why does it happen? Why are people so scared to talk about it? I'm still scared to talk about it. I don't like to be I don't like to have a loud mouth in when it comes to like pointing fingers and stuff, because I just think sometimes it takes away from what you're trying to actually like put out. Not that other people can't, but I don't know. I'm just a guy. I'm scared I'm gonna I'm scared I'm gonna screw up or something. And so I think that's what everybody is kind of like. And it's just something that's known, but no one really does anything about it. I don't even think Paper and Plastic is still around though. I think that he folded it. I think he got rid of it.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I mean, I know a few people personally
one more preference. If you're friends with Vinny or whatever, I don't give a shit. Like, I'm not mad at him. I'm just mad at the experience. It's like, it's over now. I don't hold that. It's more just like, what the hell was that? Like, yeah, what the hell was all that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I personally don't know him.
Yeah.
I mean, I've just heard stories, you know, and I know a few people that have worked with them over the years,
Yeah.
and it just kind of seemed like, oh, that's really unfortunate. And I mean, as somebody who does run a label, it's like, you know, that's something I have to be wary of, where, you know, I mean, I'm not dealing with like these giant numbers, you know, of like units, and like, you know, we're not talking about like tens of thousands of dollars that are being spent on any given band, you know? So the stuff that I deal with personally with the label is very low key, you know, and I keep it low key purposefully, you know, because there's only so much that I can do to help a band. So
Absolutely.
I'm very honest about it. I'm very upfront. I tell them, like, guys, like, this is what I can do. If you want to work with me, great. If you don't, it's no offense, like, move on, you know?
And that's
like,
the right way to do it.
More of like a happy, like, yeah, we'll just work together and it'll be fun, you know? That kind of thing.
I need this and you get this and we get this. That's kind of what it was like with AF. I was like, here, it's done. It's mastered. I made it, but I don't have any money. So can you put it on vinyl? And then it was like, okay. And so it was like, oh, tight. Like, this is what, that relationship is now more so with record. And also when the numbers are more tangible, I feel like the stakes are higher. Like, you know, if you're cheating somebody out of $2,000 or something, and that $2,000 is literally their way of paying back this investment they've made, or at least get something out of this investment, then it's even more dickish than dealing with a 10,000 lost units out of 1 million sold. It's like you're basically funding a group to continue to be, and you're probably just asking for what you like got plus like a little extra. I mean, that's what it is. Like, that's what it should be. And when someone doesn't deliver, you're really screwing somebody else over. Like, because the stakes are low, but they're high.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And like, whatever the reasons behind, you know, the circumstances that happened with not only you and other artists with Paper and Plastic, like, I would hope that there's, you know, like I guess like a learning from that, like not only for the bands and for him, but for other people to consider, like, when getting into bed with other people, because like, this isn't like a new thing. Like, this has happened all the time, like, since the beginning.
No. You know? And it's sometimes, I mean, the way I put it with Yes I Can, it was like, sometimes you're just so damn hungry to get like something moving that you will make a decision that is literally presented in front of you as a bad one. You're just kind of like, but maybe I'm different. Maybe I'm special. And you shouldn't have to think that way, because why the fuck would you? Everything should have just been a transaction that works. But yeah, it was just like, maybe that won't happen to me, which is the dumbest shit. And but also, who am I to like judge somebody who's also in that position of just like, I need to get this project off the ground. I need something. And I don't, at that time, like, we didn't really have anything. Like, I was just a guy in direct hit. That was my leverage point, if you will, the long guitar guy in a band, you know, like, and then we had a couple records years back when before it was like a super serious project. I didn't really have a leg to stand on. So I thought any form of validity I could get would be the right thing to do. And then that was the wrong choice. And that's the lesson, is try not to don't make decisions based on what you think they can do for you if you clearly know they won't do for you. And that was you won't be different if it's never been different for anybody before. I haven't reached out to a couple other groups that I had talked to prior before we split to see if they've ever gotten their stuff, but I 100% imagine they didn't. It's a bummer. So lesson learned out of it. Don't trust something that is clearly not good.
Yeah. Well, and I think just trusting your gut, like, makes a big, you know.
Oh yeah. And there was a lot of excitement in the sense that it was just, there's bands that I love on that label. That there was like a lot of stuff. It felt like you kind of just felt like our first like little foot back into wanting to be loosely into the ska community too, because that's always weirdly been this band's angle. We always feel like we would pair very nice on a ska tour. Like, I think people would really enjoy our band, especially given we have the whole, nearly, aside from the upstrokes, the shtick, the whole thing, the fun party, the horns and crap. That was like that kind of reasoning, is that's where we wanted to go. We wanted to try and get on tours with ska bands and try and feel other like-minded listeners who we would assume would like our shit. And I think that ska fans are my favorite, being one, and remember being one. I was enthusiastic about a lot of what you put in front of me if it was slightly different from what I didn't want to deal with. Like, if it wasn't straightforward pop punk and it had like a horn player or a keyboard player, I was like, fuck yeah, like, I'm so sick of that other bullshit. Put a thing in it, and then I like it. And that was like part of my excitement about the ska scene. It was like, horns? Like, what? Like, these are different instruments. So yeah, that was the reasoning. But it didn't. The record did that. So it didn't even matter. Like, so I guess you don't need always someone to help you get there, even if it ends up hurting you. That's what that experience ended up kind of being, was, oh, I think this is going to help, but it actually hurt. All we should have done was put the fucking thing out and then emailed the mailing list, and then it would have been fine. You know, like, right. Yeah. So,
well, I mean, hey, you know, and since then, you know, you've moved on, you're working with AF, and that seems to be really great. And I mean, you know, they've got a pretty established, you know, reputation of being like a good label, you know, who haven't burned any bridges or anything like that. So,
no, and they're great. They've had our, like, they signed our best friend band, like Dollar Signs. So we had already been able to talk to Dollar Signs directly and be like, are they good? And they're like, they're good. And so it was, and they had a really successful run with them and has helped them out in their next step. It's all the signs pointed to, this is a good thing. Plus, if you've ever met the people in Anti-Flag, I think they're the only people that are exactly what they say they are. Which is a wild thought, because they are just as good, nice, fucking dedicated to what they do. So it hurts your head knowing that they're like, those people exist, because very few people live up to what they appear to be on, you know, in media and stuff. And Anti-Flag was truly what they said they are, and kind and amazing. So all those factors lumped together mean that they're not going to fuck you over, because, I don't know, they just take it seriously. And that's, what a thought. Yeah, you know, what a thought.
Yeah, I mean, I've never met those guys, you know, and I'm honestly not like a huge Anti-Flag fan, but I've seen them a few times and they're always great. Like, they always put on a great show. And, you know, I know people who know them pretty well, and they say the same thing as you. It's like, they're good dudes, and they stand up. And,
I mean, you don't have to hear a tune of their music and just meet them, and they'll be genuinely nice to you, and you'll be taken aback. Sure. It's like, whoa, shit, like, you're real.
Yeah, and I mean, they've obviously gotten to where they are, you know, from hard work, and, you know, they've built a huge fan base, and kudos to them. I mean, that's great, and, you know, I mean, it's rad that they're able to do this label on the side too, because, I mean, you know, like, That Mike's got Fat Records, and you know, et cetera. So it seems to be like something that happens for a lot of these bigger bands. They end up doing it as like a project, and then it turns into its own machine, which is great.
Yeah, it's just part of their narrative, it seems, of like giving back, and it totally feels that way too. It's still a label; it still has to do what it has to do, but
sure,
it really is offering, you know, platforms to good bands. There's like lots of good bands on that label that want to do good things, and they help that. That's what a label does. That's what your label does. That's, you know, that's what a good label does.
Right.
So, yeah.
But so during this whole time, you know, that you've had now without shows, you were telling me that you, I guess, have been partaking in like this Twitch streaming.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that a little bit. Like, what's that all about?
It is weird. So I have a background in collecting and selling video game paraphernalia and such. I have like a I used to own and run a video game store in Boston. There's all this other stuff, and co-own, whatever. And I basically sold retro shit and flip stuff my whole life. It's just what I like to do. So I have a massive collection of just stuff that I've kept and haven't sold. And it's been sitting here, and Twitch has started as this video game platform where you would play video games and people would watch and chat. And since then, it's evolved into something of almost like, I like to call it new public access. So any idiot can kind of have a show if you choose to do it that way. Or some people just have a microscope and they have a camera on the microscope and they show you what's under the microscope. Or some people make cookies and in their kitchen, and it's like nice. So you can do whatever you want. So I had this idea to do like a modern crappy Wayne's World of 2020. And so it started as me just streaming games that I had sitting around, and then I wrote a theme song, and then I saw that there's like I don't know if you use OBS when you're recording it or whatever, the program, I don't know what you use to record Zoom. I don't know how Zoom works. I'm terrible with it. I'm terrible with what I need to do. But there's this like broadcasting program that you use, and it feels like I went to school a little bit for television broadcast. So it looks like an old switcher, and it acts almost exactly as one. So I immediately understood it, and then it would just kind of started to become a show. Like this week less because of the election, but like we have guests on. We just had Mike Kennedy from the All American Rejects, so I talked about, he was a guest. We got on the front page. We have a cooking thing I do with my partner Catherine. My buddy like is a Lego fanatic, so he comes on and he talks about his Lego. It's just like a nerd show that we do in lieu of shows. And the joke has always been when like a friend comes over or something at like 8:45 when we're rolling the little thing, and it's the last thing that's felt like a fucking show in so long. And like, that's been the main goal of that, is to try and fill that void. Also, you can make a little bit of extra money. It's not going to put you through rent, but if you have a decent enough thing, people will toss some, just like everything else, they'll toss some change your way. So it's been a nice way to get through the days of not being able to entertain.
That sounds really cool, actually. I mean, I've gone on Twitch a few times. I mean, just to kind of view some things that people recommended, and it seems really cool. I mean,
it's vast at first. It's crazy. Vast, and it has a big learning curve. But I think when you get around it, you can really find stuff that anybody can enjoy. There's something for everybody out there. There's enough makers to find something you like. Sorry, please go on.
No, totally. Yeah. Like, the way that you described it actually makes a lot of sense with like the kind of a newer public access channel. Like, I guess I'd never really thought about it in that way.
I love public access and like shitty television and people that make stuff out of their own willingness to make something, even if it's not particularly good. I don't know. There's like heart to public access that I don't think you get other places. And I think that heart or sadness, a lot of sadness, really resonates on Twitch as well. And sometimes you can get lost in like a bad stream of someone who's just like, and you're just sitting there going like, oh shit. Or you find the most insane thing of a guy that bought a slot machine and he sits in his basement and he's just pulling the slots, and people like, if he wins, then he takes a shot and it's in front of a green screen. And if for some reason the green screen is his face, like screaming. So it's like almost offensive to look at, but I can't stop looking. One night, me and the person who got me into it, Chris Graw, he does all these ska videos now in California. He does all Bite Me Bambi's videos, all We Are Union videos. He reached out to me when I started and provided basically all of the knowledge to help me get it to where it is, and got me on that front page opportunity. He's been like super amazing. We were chatting one night and we got drunk and watched a guy play Minesweeper for like an hour. He was playing Minesweeper and listening to techno music, but he bet real money if he would win, and we're just at the edge of your seat. And then he deleted it before it was over, and that was like by accident. He just hit like a button and it cleared the Minesweeper, and that was like the most exhilarating like hour and a half I've had in months. Because Netflix, I'm done. See ya. Watched it all. Can't watch Community anymore. Watched it 50 times. Hulu, nothing. I'm not Amazon. What the fuck? Who even looks at that? I've watched everything. There's nothing to consume. So that's why Twitch is so wonderful, because it's like a no frills entertainment portal. You want to go look at something? Here's something to look at. That's what it is. It's really weird.
You know, I don't know. I guess because I've still been working, you know, and like occupied with that, like I haven't had as much like free time to do it. But it sounds incredible. Like it sounds
and it's also
very
great.
Fascinating.
A lot of people just keep it on if I Twitch during the day, sometimes I get people who are just at work are working at home who just want background noise. It's like a weird thing. Once you're like plugged into it, you almost kind of like, yeah, fuck it, I'll just put it on the background. It's like much better than having the news on right now. I'd rather watch. Yeah. And then some of them are like super high quality. Like this one I watched, I tuned into just to make fun of, and then now I watch it every week. Have you heard of this terrible, I don't want to call them terrible, Psycho Stick? Have you heard, they're like a joke band that almost seems that they're like a new metal joke band. That most of their songs are about food. And they have a massive following of nerds. And I was like, what is this? I'm not going to watch this every week. Immediately enthralled by their live performance. It was incredible. It's so creative. It's like a bunch of cell phone cameras and then a green screen. And what can you figure out what to do? Also, while playing your dumb new metal, and you not only are you have your loyal fans, you get an idiot like me who's just like, you know what, I can appreciate the work you've put into this alone, let alone how impressed I am with like how you've kept your followers around. It's like there's so many weird things to think about that you don't get watching The Bachelorette, which I watch. But yeah, there's no redeeming heart to The Bachelorette. Everything is like dismal and sad, but that's, you know, one of the reasons you watch it. But there is like a heart to a good Twitch channel. It's like this band figured out how to keep playing. What an inspiring thing. I feel like it's cool. Even if it is a song about a taco.
Well, it's like I can see, it's like, you know, this Twitch stuff, that's like real reality TV. Like,
yes.
Like it's people just kind of doing unfiltered, ridiculous stuff, like kind of literally anything that they want to do. And as long as it's not like cannibalism or like murder, you know, or something like that.
And the guidelines don't seem very strict. Like,
well, right.
Yeah, and depending on your size, it doesn't seem like anything's going to happen to you if you, I don't know, do whatever it is you do on your channel. I mean, the guideline for drinking is like, don't do anything that'll harm yourself. Drinking is harming myself, let alone.
Technically, yeah.
Yeah, right? So, so what is what standard are we working with here? You know, it's interesting. And that's the same as like public access. It's like, who the fuck, who's filtering this? Like, I've seen so many things on Chicago public access that are just like a guy on a phone. And that's also a Twitch thing. There's like an amazing guy named Moneyworms who I watch all the time from Atlanta, and he does call-ins, and they're so interesting. It's humans talking to real. It's like that Chris Gethard shit that is like so desperately missing from television. A human call-in show. It's risky, but it's like the weirdest plane of human connection that I don't know. I'm so in need of, you know, like I don't have the bar to go say hi to Joey, who I see once a month, and say hi to and go, how's your kid? Tight. Bye. Like that's what Twitch almost becomes too, because people start talking to you, and you know, your friends stop by and are like, what are you playing? Haha, fart. And then you're like, haha, fart. Yeah. And like, I so desperately like miss that thing. Like there are people that I don't think I'm ever going to see again after this, because literally they existed in a way that was very nice in a social world, but in a non-social world, I don't think I'm ever going to see my favorite bartender again. You know, it's like, it's very weird. You know, the people you never hung out with, but lived your life near are just totally missing. And I feel like Twitch kind of brings a little of that back. It can also be, you know, depressing. It can be full of trolls.
Yeah.
But also, hey, what is existence? You know, it's just, if you like it, then it works. It's very hard to explain to people too. It's like when I started doing it, had a lot of anxiety because I don't think a lot of people know what it is. And it kind of seems like one of those things that You start when you're 32, when you're like in a bad place, you know? So I didn't want that to be the reflection. So that's also what motivated it to be. I wanted it to be good. I want everything I do to be good, because if I want to ask for money, I don't want to ask for money for something shitty. I want to show you that I've given you at least the most of my insanity, and that's what I give you. That's what I give you with my Twitch. It's a humble, honest attempt for me to entertain and for you to be entertained during a time where it's just, I mean, I don't know. I can't play another acoustic set. I don't think I want to watch, I don't want to hear an acoustic guitar for the next 40 years after this is all over. And it's no disrespect to people who play acoustic music or whatever, but that's what we've been left with. And it's tough. It's because there's other stuff, but you can't do it. It's like, I've just played acoustic sets to no cheering cameras, and I tried to do it on the Twitch more, but I don't know. It feels like that's my Zoom fatigue. Is like I can't play a show to a camera anymore. I mean, I will, but it's just it's different and it's exhausting, and it's like I don't feel like, you know, people should feel bad about that because it's really hard. It's really hard to have an instant gratification thing that you've dedicated your life to be no longer of that thing. It's very weird.
I totally know what you mean, man. I'm totally missing live music. And, you know, I mean, we started off the show talking about this, and like, it's something that I think a lot of people have a lot of anxiety around, where like, when we get back to normal, like, what is it going to look like? And like, are we going to have to do it at like a snail's pace? And, you know, by the time that we get back to doing it the way that we used to do it, like, what are the casualties going to look like? And like, what was it like? There was some prediction that said, and I mean, I don't know how based in reality it is, but like, there was some like news article that came out that like something like 80% of like all bands are going to dissolve or some shit, or like, I mean, I don't know. Yeah. I don't think that that's necessarily true, but
it seems like a weird thing. Like, where are you getting your numbers for that?
But I do have a feeling, though, that there are some bands that are like career bands that are going to have to really go back to like basics, you know?
I was talking to our keyboard about it. Not the keyboard, the keyboardist of our band.
Sure, Devon. Sure.
And I've lost it. I'm just talking to instruments now, like petting them. This is gonna happen. No, we were kind of like, because like people who actually make money off of royalty statements, they're not going anywhere because people are still going to license and listen to their music. Small dad rock bands, novelty bands, they're not going anywhere because they play at Scrud's Pub, and that's their deal. It's going to be bands like us, like middle, not doing bad, but also super reliant on the only real way to make money in as this level of band is to go out and put your music in front of people and get a guarantee or a fucking door deal or a sandwich, you know? It's like it's very hard to wrap your head around, because that seems to be everyone that I know. And I don't think that artists will go away, but I think the scope of what people can do is going to get thinner, as, you know, like, I kind of relied on the money I made touring to keep me going in my, you know, in between jobs because of touring, et cetera, et cetera. I was living a much healthier life when I was out on the road, and I was able to start taking my own band out on the road and make money doing that. I had more options. And then when it closed, it was kind of like, fudge. Like, now this thing you've built so long to build the infrastructure up to is now completely gone. And what's the next step for a band that needs that who needs that $300, $200, $50 to get gas? Like, where else is it coming from? Because, you know, records, they cost money to make. Your merch costs money to make. After a while, it's going to start coming out of it probably already does. If you lose your job in the pandemic, you can't order as much merch, which means you can't make as much money. It's a snake eating its own tail. It's very worrisome for bands in this bracket, I feel like, because also, what's stopping those bands from stopping being a band? If a person hits that point where in America we can't get it together and this pandemic goes longer, if it's not benefiting you to do it, I feel like it's going to start taking people to a limit. Like, people only have so much they can handle before it's like, well, I can't just keep driving to practices or doing this because it's just like, I got to now dump myself into an Amazon job or something that I didn't expect that I had to do all the time. And now that the pandemic's raging, I don't want to put myself at risk and go into a room with people who do that. There's so many variables that are so scary. So maybe not 80%, but maybe more of a bracket of band that's going to hurt really bad and maybe need to kind of halt production. I mean, a lot of bands have halted production. You don't think about them. That's what makes it scary, is that they just have gone to sleep. And it's like, are they going to come back from sleep, or are they just going to be gone after all this is done? And the bands that are trucking through are making what they can. You know, we've got a lot of stuff to put out, but high output is cool and all, but now there's a lot of high output. So you're competing to even harder to stay afloat. At least on a 4-band or a 2-band touring bill, you could get eyes forced into a room with, like, even if you stink, a couple local band watchers, you know what I mean? Like, now it's like Bandcamp Friday is like 700 releases and no big deal. That's great. I'm glad people are making stuff, but now it's like even more fighting over the tiny bone. And like, how much money do people have as their jobs go away when we get into the winter in the Midwest? Is a regional problem, to spend on that band. It's just, it's a whole layer of anxiety that just, unless something happens, it's going to just kind of get harder. I don't think it's going to end. Everyone's going to fight as long as they can fight, because that's what we've already been doing. It's not like I was rich before this.
Right.
You know? It's not like I was making a ton of money. I was still strapped for cash all the time, but at least I had something to present for it in a very tangible way. So that was a very long answer to one question, but
no, I mean, that's fine, man. It's, I think you're right. I mean, I don't believe for a minute that 80% of all musicians and bands are just going to dissolve. I do think that you're correct in that we're going to see like different experiences for different levels of bands. And my big concern is that because of the number of venues that have had to close, that, to your point of everyone fighting over the same bone, like, bands are going to immediately want to tour, and everyone's going to be much more limited into like how many shows they can play.
Oh yeah.
And that's going to be a huge problem.
Absolutely.
But yeah, man, I mean, we'll I guess we'll just see what happens, and we'll hope for the best.
I mean, what else can you do?
I mean, what else can you do?
Yeah. And we'll adapt. Everyone will eventually adapt, and everyone is adapting, at least the best that they can. And that's, you know, it seems like, you know, if you have now is also probably a really good time to network with people who have the resources, because you probably want to get somewhere that you can, you know, considerably put out more digital content. I know it's like a scary thing to say, and I know no one really went into this to be a content creator. And that's just a sentence as a 32-year-old man that I didn't think I'd ever utter. I knew that I technically was by writing songs, but now I got to make videos, and I got to learn a whole new medium. But what else is fucking new? It's not like anybody goes into art to have a guarantee or to have a sense of, I'm going to make it no matter what. You know, you're still gambling, and I feel like the ones who really love to gamble are going to keep fucking gambling, or just don't know how to do anything else. Like,
sure.
Yeah. So not to be too negative, there is a silver lining. So
no, there is. And like, so for, you know, so I play in Tsunami Bomb, and, you know, we weren't touring a lot anyway. Right.
Yeah.
And it's mostly just because we can't, because
Absolutely.
of our lives outside of the band. And, so for us, it's like, yeah, it's a bummer that we still can't play shows, but it's not as much of a bummer because we don't rely on it as our source of income. Right.
Totally.
And what I feel like I've been trying to do just for my own growth as a musician is just to spend more time just songwriting and to become a better songwriter, you know?
Oh yeah.
So as much as I would love to be putting stuff out, you know, like either on my own or as Tsunami Bomb or as another project, I'm less focused on that as I am just becoming a better musician. And that's just me personally, you know?
Oh no, I think that's awesome.
Folks like Jer, from Skatoon
Yeah,
Network.
a gleaming example of how it's done.
Well, right, and they, were doing this prior to COVID.
Yeah,
and Jer just took off and has seen, I mean, I don't know necessarily if Jer has seen more, of an accumulation of fans or not. I would assume so, but I mean, talk about being in the right place at the right time with the right skill set,
absolutely. And
Yeah,
I think maybe the right age. I don't like to do
maybe,
that,
yeah.
but the window of my apps was different than the window of their apps. So I'm not as well versed in the one that's out now. And it's not hard, but it's also hard. It's just hard. There's a lot to learn. God damn, did I just sound old? Edit that out.
Well, hey man, I mean, you're 32.
Yeah.
Well, I'm 42, so I got 10 years on you.
Hey, that's tight.
Yeah. But no,
you look good. I hope that I do whatever you're doing at 42. I'm gonna look like a paper bag when that happens. But
no, dude. Yeah, just if I can give you any advice, if you do smoke, quit.
Oh, I quit. I was a cigarette smoker for 10 years. I've been off that shit for almost 8. So
great. Yeah, I think you're in the right spot then. But
yeah, unless it's weed, which that's not smoking.
Well, right. No, that's not really smoking. Yeah. But anyway, hey man, to move on to the last kind of couple questions that I have for you. So something that I ask everyone is, you're in the Chicago area, and you don't have to necessarily keep this, because I know that you've toured a lot, so you're probably well versed in a lot of different scenes. But who are some bands that you think people may not know about that you think they should totally pay attention to and like check out their music and like buy their stuff? Like, can you name at least like 3 or 4?
Yes, I'm consulting my playlist dopest songs. I would say the first one off the top of my head is Telethon from Milwaukee.
Okay.
I love that band. They're on Take This to Heart Records. They have, I don't know, my favorite record. I think it was this year, 2020. I can't remember. I have no sense of time, even before the pandemic. I'm like a Labrador. But it's so good. It's called Hard Pop. I listen to it literally all the time. It's like, it's got that Ben Folds vibe, but also written by a bunch of dorks who fucking love theme parks. And it's the songwriter, Kevin, he just has this, it's not aloof, but it's like this higher mental ability than I have. He's just much smarter than me, and a very calm demeanor, which translates very cool into like the storytelling of the band, as it's like almost this hyper dad rock, punk, ska. They're another like blender band. That's another reason I like them. And their guitar player, Jack, is probably the best guitar player I've ever seen in my life. So they have all these factors that I like. Roaring solos that aren't annoying. Like you'll sing every solo, but it's not the melody of the song, which is just my favorite kind of solo, like its own melody. It's almost like you get another hook. And they're so good at doing that. So I really, 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 really like that. I've been listening to that Kill Lincoln record because it's fucking phenomenal.
I agree. It's
and
a great record.
I want to beat my own ass because I didn't fucking write a record that awesome. That Kill Lincoln record makes me feel a way that I haven't felt since I listened to Hello Rockview, if that's like a way to put it. There was like the gleaming production of Hello Rockview. It's either Big Crash or Nervous in the Alley. There's a part where like an organ soars in, and it's like a full sonic blast of bright horn ska punk. And I haven't heard anything like that, not even from them, till Can't Complain. And I mean that in the utmost of like, damn, like no one's nailed it since, and you guys nailed it. Not to say every song sounds like Less Than Jake, just that vibe. It's perfect. So I really like that. The Jamones, I don't know if you ever heard of them. They have a cool song called Jennifer Lawrence of Arabia, which I think is a rare, perfect song that exists. It's a good tune. Then I really like that. I like Resting in Pieces by Tiny Stills. It's a single that Tiny Stills put out. That's a perfect pop song that is always stuck in my head. And then there's a little bit more. Have you ever heard of that Noah Cyrus song. Yeah, it's it's Miley Cyrus's cousin. It's called Young and Sad.
I haven't.
So good.
Very good.
Perfect song. What a nice downer pop song. I love me downer pop music. I know that's not like a non-known. And then my last one is a person who hasn't written a record since like the 2000s, but no one knows about this record, and it's perfect. The guy's name is Devon Davis, Devin, and he has the record is called Lonely People of the World Unite, and it's a giant inspiration for Limited Joy, and you should listen to that record. So one of those Midwest great records that just got lost in the big corn states. So
got it.
Yeah.
Well then, yeah. And then the last question that I usually ask everyone is like, if you could give me 5 records that you would take with you if you were deserted on an island, like what would they be?
Cool. Yeah, I can do that. Say Anything is a Real Boy, just because I love the guitar playing on that record all the time. It's so weird and bonkers, and the songwriting is so intense. And I really like how gross and dark it is, even though it might not be the most holdy-uppy thing. I think it's much more higher concept than that, because he was going through so much mentally. He was so young when that record was. He was like 16 when that fucking record was written, and he also had. I think he wasn't even diagnosed with. Oh my gosh, what, bipolar or whatever it was. So it's just this energy record that I love so much. The Hippos, Heads Are Gonna Roll. I still hold today that's my favorite ska punk record. Really ahead of its time.
Man, dude, I saw the Hippos at my college like so cool. Years ago, and I mean they were fun. I gotta admit, like I never really got into them, but like it's hilarious that you bring them up. Yeah, like there's the foam finger from back in the day. Oh yeah, there it is. Yeah. Like didn't their lead singer like go on to become like a big like producer or something?
Ariel Rashad. Yeah. I follow that dude and listen to all the shit he does because he makes insane pop music. He got a Grammy for helping write, I think, an Adele song or some shit.
Yeah, that sounds familiar. Like I heard something about this. Yeah,
he works with Haim a lot. And like, I don't know. I felt like his songs were good ass songs, even with that kind of someone. I played it to someone who never heard it, and they were like, "Is this like a Smash Mouth record?" And I was like, "All right, okay." Like, I hear what you mean in the brightness and the synthy but the songs. It's all comes down to those songs. Sure, they're like the best Nickelodeon song you've ever heard, but damn, they're catchy and energetic. Okay, that's that's that one. Andrew WK, I Get Wet, just because it's a perfect record and nothing in the world sounds like it. It's as if the Ramones took Adderall. It's fucking awesome. I think
that's a pretty awesome description.
It's really, really good. Man, I don't know. Other records I take with me everywhere. Hold on. I have to remember. We live in an age where records are a lot harder to remember. Sam Cooke, A Change Is Gonna Come. I really love that one. That's my favorite Sam Cooke. And then I guess the Pie Tasters Turbo. It's a record that I don't think anyone got to listen to because I don't think it's on like any streaming. I don't know if there's like a rights thing about it, but it was there. I really like soul music and R&B, and I know I just gave all my answers in the pop punk realm, but whatever, I'm boring. That Turbo record that they did is probably the coolest combination I've heard of like Motown and third wave and punk all into this incredible blender. That song Rachel on that record is like, I wish I like wrote that song. Like I want to cover it or something one day, just because I don't think anyone got to fucking hear it. It's just so bonker. I can find like 3 or 4 of the tracks on like YouTube. Just like lost to the world kind of a thing. It's it's very, very good.
Yeah, no, I love the Pie Tasters. I mean, they were one of those bands that I think deserve way more credit than they ever got. Yeah,
100%. It was so, I don't know. They were just they're so different, so diverse. Every record was good, and it was so weird how many people they hit. Because my girlfriend Kat, when we started dating, I remember somehow we were looking at her music on iTunes, not the biggest punk fan when we met and all that stuff. Never really got exposed to it. But the fucking Pie Tasters were on there. It was like Ooh La La or Nice Day, whatever the bright orange cover one was. I was like, how the hell did you get that? And she was like, I was on like a college radio and I thought it was fucking good. And it was like, shit, like this is good to everybody. So it's one of those bands that you definitely, and they were baller live. They were so good live, like just so crazy. They used to wear the Dickies jumpsuits, which I partially, that ska thing where you wear a uniform, which the Solutions kind of do. I don't know. It's like a lot came from that band that I've stolen. So yeah. No, I sold a lot of those horn lines too.
Yeah, I think they're great. I caught them last year at Punk Rock Bowling, and they were killer. I saw them years ago, a couple of times actually, open for the Boss Tones, and I mean, just talk about like a superb like way to like get you into the headliner. Like a great band like the Pie Tasters, just kind of warming you up, getting you all like hyped up and dancing and everything like that. And then the Boss Tones come on, and I mean, I fucking love the Boss Tones. So, yeah.
Like the Boss Tones are like laser tight, and then the Pie Tasters were a little more rowdy. So it was kind of like the Pie Tasters, the perfect combination of this louder, more raucous, and then you've got those gold record having fucking mainstays that play every show. Perfect.
Exactly. Yeah.
Can't speak well enough about that band. I love the Boss Tones. What a consistent band. Like, I don't know. No band has that many good, solid albums one after another and then continue to make good, solid records. I can't think of many.
And like, they've kind of been one of those bands within the ska world that has just maintained like we are the Boss Tones, this is what we sound like every album's a little bit different, like kind of changes a little bit, but it mostly at its core it's like we're a rock band who plays ska, got all of their attitude.
They do that thing that I like about a genre-less band where it's like, this is our punk, like Jackknife to the Swan, this is our punk record, and it's like, well, that fucking rules. And then they have like Devil's Night Out, it's our early hardcore record or whatever. Right. And then Question the Answers.
Fucking awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. That fucking
total like open up everyone to it. And then like fucking
that record has some of the most bonkers shit from a Toxic Toast. What an epic song. 365 Days is like fucking weird. It's like it makes you think for a second how it's played and stuff. It's so good. What a great band.
Yeah. Seriously. Yeah. Well, hey, Devon, dude, it's been really nice to have you on the show, and I really appreciate talking with you, and congratulations on the new record. I'm super excited for it. And I'll have to check out your Twitch. Like, please send me the link, and like I'll check it out sometime.
Twitch TV / Devon Kay Twitches.
Sweet. Yeah.
Perfect. For anyone who's watching.
Oh, because they're recorded, aren't they?
It goes live, and then there's a replayback that you can watch too. But it's more fun live because depends which episode. That's the thing, is that there is some of them that I'm just playing a game and hanging out, and that's probably less fun to watch. But the ones where we like do a whole show is always the most fun. I'm sorry. I'll stop yamming. I've had you here for an hour and a half.
No, that's great, man. I mean, like, stoked to have you on here. Thanks so much. And we'll end the show with a video from one of the songs from the album.
Yes. So. Oh, Glorious Nothing. I'll send that to you in a second here.
Sweet. Cool. Thanks, Devon.
Hello, T-Dog. It's me. It's it's Michael Michelson. And I got to tell you, you can't come into the office today because the roof is in a mess. So I'm going to take care of it. You take a vacation on your island there, T, buddy, and we'll catch up later. So don't come on your roof because nothing's going to be happening.
I guess